We'll call the planning and zoning meeting to order at 4 o'clock on November the 3rd, 2022. First item on the agenda, 1A, is approval of the minutes. Have the commissioners had a chance to look over, find any corrections, additions, etc.?
I saw no changes, and I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as proposed.
We have a motion to accept. Do I have a second? I do have a second. All in favor, right hands up. Thank you, unanimous. All right. Nothing from item 2, so we're going to move into the public hearing area. And Drew?
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, good evening. Just a quick recap on some of the conditional use permits for the short-term rental. I know the commission is aware, and I know a lot of the public is aware, City Council has made some recent changes to the zoning code. Those are now in effect. However, these applications all came in prior to that effective date. So under state law, they're entitled for review under the previous code. So although some of these are in districts that the conditional use permit would no longer be allowed, we're still reviewing them under that old code, just like we have the handful that we've done beforehand. So just a reminder for that. Like I said, moving forward, I do believe we have one more case kind of in our pending items that'll come before the commission, but other than that, these will be almost the last ones through since that effective date. With that, I'll go ahead and jump into the first one. A resolution to allow a conditional use permit for a short-term rental on Lot 3, Block 1, Jenkins, more commonly known as 3410 Riverside Drive. With that, I'll turn it over if the applicant's here. I believe we do have some folks out in the hall, so I'll have to kind of give a little pause. I don't know if they were going to make it or not.
Who are you looking for?
Meyer, Mr. or Mrs. Myers.
Excuse me, sir, can you sit here and look at the mic? We can barely hear you.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Is that better?
They're not there.
Okay. I'll go ahead and jump into staff report, and then we'll go into public hearing. So this is a conditional use permit for a short-term rental at 3410 Riverside Drive. This is zone single family. This is a four bedrooms between the two units. The main house and an accessory dwelling unit, 3 bedrooms and 1. They do have room for the 5 required off-street parking spaces. They do have our standard proposed conditions for all of the short-term rentals, and I'll go through those right now. The guest notification requirement, local contact within 2 hours. They are required to pay occupancy taxes as per Chapter 94. Should they have a sign, the conditions include the parameters for those signs. They are required to meet the minimum off-street parking and maximum occupancy of 10 guests. And of course, any other zoning regulations do still apply. And with that, I'll turn it over to you for the public hearing.
All right. We have no public speakers that have signed up. Anybody have a comment right off the top? No? I'll throw the meeting open to the public to see if there's anyone wishes to speak on it. So the public hearing is open at 4:03 on item 3A, the property at 3410 Riverside. Does anyone care to make a public statement?
The applicant here.
No, the applicant didn't make it. All right.
Speak louder.
He can't hear.
Can't hear nothing.
One moment. We'll turn up the volume.
Did you want to speak on it?
Can't hear nothing.
I can turn it.
He's gonna try to make some adjustments, but I think that may be.
That may be it.
Maybe it's whenever you're speaking, make sure you're looking directly towards the mic.
All right. Well, let me try again. Ah. Okay, we have a public hearing open on the item 3A, which is at 3410 Riverside. If there's anyone in the audience that cares to make a comment relative to this short-term rental, now's your time. All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing at 4:05.
And we did have 2 additional letters in your packet, 1 in favor and 1 opposed.
In looking over this property myself, it's by the river, and a lot of times we talk about trying to locate the short-term rentals close to some of the amenities that Kerrville offers, and this is it, the river, on this piece of property. Anybody else have any comments?
Drew, do we know if the owners are managing it themselves? Are they here local? Do we know what their management plan is?
They are local and they also have a management company.
Perfect.
It's also, I guess, my opinion that if we're not interested enough for the applicant to show up at these hearings, it's somewhat of a negative, in my opinion.
And I believe this is one that had been operating. I think they thought the management company was taking care of the occupancy taxes. That's how we became aware of it. They've caught up on their occupancy tax payments, but they did have to go through the conditional use permit process because they started operating 2019 or 2020,
Oh,
after the zoning code had changed. So,
right.
or excuse me, 2020 or 2021, fairly recently. But they have been in operation, so.
All right. Anybody have an opinion or want care to make a motion?
I mean, I think it meets all the requirements that are set forth, so I'll move to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. All right, all in favor, raise your right hand, please. Those opposed? Passes. 3-2. Well, Drew, what do you have for us on 3B?
We've got a resolution for another short-term rental permit at Lot 6, Block 2, Crestwood, Phase 3, more commonly known as 125 Aaron Drive. With that, I'll turn it over to the applicant if they're here. Turn it over to the applicant if they're here.
We're here, but who goes first?
no.
There's more than 2.
No,
For-
the applicant.
For the applicant.
The applicant, oh,
Yeah.
forget it.
Is the applicant here for 125 Aaron Drive?
She's here.
Okay.
Microphone, yeah, right there.
Hi, my name is Tracy Martinez. I plan on using the property as a short-term rental, just for bi-bedroom only. So I've kind of talked to most of my neighborhood about it already and talked to people who are for and against and everything. I will let them speak, but I don't really have anything else to say. That's about it.
What's your management situation gonna be?
So management, we're planning on doing Airbnb by room only for 30 days or more. I am a nurse in the area and I would love to open up my home for nurses and physical therapists who are travel nurses and physical therapists and other occupations in the same kind of area. But I did it at the beginning when I first bought my house in 2019 and it worked out great. I had one girl that was there for 6 months. I had another young gentleman who was there for 2 months. And then a few that were about 30 days long. But it was a great way to do it. It was a nice way to keep the house clean, keep it from getting destroyed, but still be able to do semi-short-term rentals without having to worry about parties and crazy things and parking issues and all sorts of other things that come up in the weekend type rentals.
If I could get you to repeat what you said about 30 days or more?
So Airbnb has a thing on there where you can say how long the rental has to be for, and a lot of people do it so that people rent it out for the whole weekend, 2-night, 3-night stay. You can also do it up to 90 days max. So you can put it as, you know, people can only rent this out for 90 days, 30 days. So it has to be a minimum of a 30-day long lease.
That's gonna out,
Right. So by definition in the zoning code, a short-term rental is less than 30 days. So if you are going to do only rentals over 30 days, the conditional use permit actually would not be required.
Okay. Even if it's on Airbnb.
Correct.
Okay. Because
So if
they
you're
made
gonna
it
do-
seem like
If
it
you're going
was.
to do any rentals less than 30 days,
Okay.
then this is a requirement.
Okay.
But otherwise, if it's 30 days or more,
Okay. Well, that is great to know. I'd still like to keep my application and have that go just in case, but that is our plan.
all right.
So,
All right, we'll go forward with looking at it as a 30-day or less.
okay. Great. Thank you.
Sure. All right, well, I have 5 people who have signed up to speak on 3B, so I will, at 4:11, open the public hearing. First name that pops up here is Jean Belton? Bolton, excuse me. You pass the microphone right there.
Can you hear me? You can hear me. Do I have 3 minutes or 4?
4.
4. 3.
Just go with it.
I'm Jean Bolton. I live the second house in that circle next to the property that we're discussing. I want you to know that our neighborhood is truly blessed by great neighbors. They care for each other. They know each other by name. We want to be our legacy for the future. We want that legacy for our future, for anybody else who buys property. So it's our understanding that the approval of short-term lease for this property, 125, is binding on not just them, heretofore every owner following. It will be on record. Is that right? Okay. We oppose this short-term lease case, whatever is before us. We lived in a neighborhood for 22 years where that there were 2 short-term leases, and you need to know that there is a backside to Airbnbs or to short-term leases. And I lived through both of them while we were there. We lived in a neighborhood similar to ours here in Kerrville with a similar composite of people. It was a short-term rental properties. They just became available in 2 different times. Both created huge problems for the neighborhood, and this is the reason why. The first house that we know that was rented was leased to a released felon. The next thing we knew, a murder had taken place in that house. The man had killed a woman while her young child watched, and he stuffed her body in a closet and stayed there a little longer. The next thing we knew, the neighborhood then learned of it, was a sheriff coming to try to arrest him. I don't know the concern, I don't know how they got there or how they knew, but they came to arrest him, and it ended up in a shootout with the sheriff and the felon. The felon was killed. The baby girl was found. She wasn't a baby, she was a toddler, a young woman. I don't know how old she was, preschool anyhow. I don't know what happened to her, but I do know that that house became known not only in our little mountain community where we had about 150 lots, the first estate in the Cloudcroft area that was developed. It became known, though, as the community that had the murder house in it. And neighbors, nobody wanted to rent that house. The man finally sold it for $4,000, which was a pittance to what the value of the property was. And so we all lost not only reputation, we bought new owners, we lost in that way. The second one, though, was closer home to us. It was right next door to us. That property next door was an off-site, non-resident owner who wanted property for an Airbnb. Immediately after buying that property, by the way, it was located right in the middle of the people that owned the property on the top of the mountain where the views were beautiful. The elk visited our yards daily and nightly, and skunks came in too. Coons. It was a beautiful place to live. and right in the middle of it plucked this house with the new ownership. Immediately after buying it, that's when the property started. All the problems started. People inundated our neighborhood. Parties, reunions, hunters. The hunters were the worst because they warmed their diesel trucks before sunlight in the morning. They pulled their trailers in with their ATVs. Our roads were warm because they were up a mountain, and they drug those things up and down our mountain. The dust was terrible. We didn't have paved roads. It was a mountain community. Here's what happened, though. The house was overcrowded all the time, always rented. The hunting guys, the loud noises of the trucks and the loud noises of the parties disrupted our neighborhood. Believe it or not, those people had saved their lifetime wages to be able to retire in a beautiful community. And it was destroyed because you know what? When they made petitions for the owner to please control what was going on, he wouldn't answer their calls. So they called and they wrote letters, and he wouldn't answer their letters. Finally, they got a lawyer, and you know what? They didn't win.
Let me inform you, your time's up. Can you wrap up real quick?
We're against it. Our neighborhood is truly blessed here in Kerrville by great neighbors who care for each other, and we want that to be our legacy. Please put down this, because we can't control those people who come into our neighborhoods. That was evidence of it. Thank you.
Next name I have is Bob Bank.
I'm also against this. Wife and I moved here from Houston in 2005 for retirement. And we decided on this as a community because it is retirement people. We've got a lovely Elm Creek Park right above us for walking and exercise. I'm surprised really that this is even brought before the planning and zoning, because back here, Bob Keith, our builder, back then, and built some beautiful homes, says in fact here, signed off on it, no lot shall be used for anything other than family residential purposes. And he goes on to say no poultry or livestock should be kept on the premises either. So he pretty much set out the guidelines that this is a residential community, and like I say, we moved here for retirement purposes. We're delighted with the property. We have wonderful neighbors. Everyone looks out for each other. And again, we've got this wonderful park just above us to go out and walk.
Might ask you, do you have a homeowners association for your
No,
neighborhood?
that was voted on some years ago, but we had two people that were against it and never got into that. Fortunately, though, people are taking good care of their property without that. We came from an area in Houston that did have that, and we were concerned about that, but after seeing the neighborhood and after seeing the people that live in the neighborhood, we said, these people all take good care of their properties.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Next name I have is Julie Sherhart. Did I murder that?
My name is Julie Shearhart. I've watched several of your previous meetings online, so thank you for making those available, because this is like my first big public city anything meeting. So, but in one of those meetings, a map was of the focused areas for short-term rentals was mentioned. And I was unable to locate the map online, and after I contacted the P&Z office, I was told that the map was not available and may never be available due to the privacy and transparency issues of the short-term rental properties. I would like to address the issue of the Crestwood subdivision restrictions, where it states, as Mr. Banks just said, no lot shall be used for anything other than family residential purposes. Each property owner signed a statement at closing agreeing to abide by these subdivision restrictions. In an article written by lawyers Juden Fambro and Cindy Dixon entitled Living with Deed Restrictions, they clearly state in a paragraph subtitled Overlapping Authority, and I quote, "In many areas, deed restrictions and zoning ordinances are imposed on the same geographical area. In case of conflict, the more restrictive of the two prevails. For instance, if the city zones the property as commercial, it cannot override the subdeveloper's restrictions that make the subdivision exclusively residential. While zoning changes can be imposed on a neighborhood, they cannot change the law. Zoning ordinances do not supersede the subdivision restrictions. Crestwood deed restrictions govern over the zoning restrictions, and my property rights are being violated by this zoning ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker I have Sherry Smith.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I just moved here to Kerrville 11 months ago. The house I was living in before was in a city, but not too large of a city, but I had security cameras all around my house, floodlights, I had a security system, was on 24/7, and I had a CCW license to carry to protect myself. I lived in a good neighborhood, but I had all those things because people were coming and going constantly. Different people didn't know who was there, traveling, coming down the road, so I had to protect myself. I decided to move from that so I didn't have to live with that, and I came to visit Kerrville, and as soon as I got here, I went, whoa, this is a wonderful place to live. It feels comfortable and secure, small. So I decided, I went back, sold my house, and moved here. And I moved into a residential area because I wanted neighbors that I knew, that I could communicate with and be with. And I bought it in a cul-de-sac, so I wouldn't have that people coming and going down the street, not knowing if they're there to check out your house or do a porch pirate or something else to you. After I'd been here for about 3 months, I sat in my backyard and I took a deep breath and I realized, wow, I'm home. I'm relaxed. I didn't realize how anxious and precautious and how I had been looking around and watching for everything for so long. But now I was home in a place that I felt secure. Please don't make it so that now I have to do it all over again with people coming and going and different people all the time. People walking down the street, you not knowing if they're there just to have a cigarette and throw the butt on your grass or to check out your front porch for some products or case your house. I moved here for my forever home to feel secure and comfortable with my neighbors that care about you. They don't do that everywhere. This is a special place. That's why I picked up my life and moved here. Please, I do not allow this to go forward, even though she said it's for nurses and pulling your heartstrings. That doesn't mean it is. It could be for a weekend. She could do anything she wants with it. It would be lovely if we had places for nurses, but don't go with that. She could do anything she wants. It could be a one-night stand, and you never know who that one person is that one time that can take your security away. Thank you.
You. Last name I have for B. I'm sorry.
New house?
The new house? A new house? There we go. Take microphones right there.
Sorry, I've been out there, so I wasn't sure how the room was set up. Hi, I'm Alicia Newhouse, and I live at 122 Crestwood, just on the other side of the fence, basically within 200 feet. And I'm opposed to the short-term rental for a couple of reasons. One, when I bought my house, I did read also the restrictions, which said that was going to be family residential, but also I have a property management business in Hunt that oversees second homes for people, and they're private, they're not rented out, but one a couple years ago did decide to try it. with the thought that they're going to be asking a fair amount. So surely people that would rent it would not destroy it. But what happened was 15 college kids would rent it. And anyway, within 6 months, long story short, they ended up pulling it out just from the noise. There were complaints from all the neighbors. And so my concern is, she said that she's going to only do long-term rentals, but then she said, but I still want to apply for the permit. So anything could change at any point if that wasn't working out for her on the other avenue, and we could start having a whole lot of people coming in and renting. So that's why I'm opposed to it. Thank you.
You. All right, that's the end of the speakers who have signed up. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to say something about item 3B, the residents at 125? Aaron?
I thought I had signed up, so maybe I put the wrong number down. I apologize if I did so. My name is Joshua Sullivan. I live at 124 Crestwood. The back of our property is, our backyard butts up against the driveway section of 125, Aaron. I'll speak against this. We have 3 young children that we feel comfortable in the safe neighborhood, allowing them to play outside without my wife and I being outside with them. We have great neighbors. It's a safe neighborhood. It's a consistent neighborhood. We are against this just for the sake of adding that sort of inconsistency to our neighborhood, but also just simply to our backyard. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll close the public hearing at 4:26. Commissioners, any comments?
Just a couple.
Sure.
I understand deed restrictions, kind of something a couple of us look at on a daily basis. That's why Commissioner asked if we have an HOA. The homeowners association's what's going to govern what can or cannot happen in your neighborhood. Just FYI. So understanding what is said and how the neighborhood's developed is different than what a homeowners association can enforce. So it's, but there are a lot of residents here that have spoken out against this. We know we need housing. We know we need housing for our nurses, our healthcare staff, and it is a challenge that we have here in our area because it's it's Kerrville. So that's that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Anybody else? I will entertain a motion.
Motion to deny.
I have a motion to deny. I have a second. All in favor of denial? Unanimous? I'm sorry?
She can appeal to city council.
Oh, yeah. Is the applicant still here? Oh, yeah, outside? Okay. Well, we were just gonna point out that your short-term rental did not make it.
Okay.
But you have the ability to appeal this case to city council.
Okay.
They can and often do override what we say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, 3C is another short-term rental at Lot 14, Block 2, Galleria Estates, more commonly known as 811 Lloyd's Drive. And with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant. I think they're out in the lobby.
Right here.
Yep, there we go.
My name's Karen Garrity, my husband Pete. We bought this house in March 2021. This is our vacation home. Pete's from Fort Worth. We have a son in Plano, and we fell in love with Kerrville. So we still have young adults at home, college age. So we can't make a final move out, but we come out here at least once a quarter and enjoy everything Kerrville and the Hill Country has to offer. We love it here. And we thought, while we're not here, that we can open it up for other people to have those experiences. It's a beautiful little family neighborhood, and most of the people who have stayed with us have either been, we've had aerospace contractors moving from North Dakota. They've started a new office down here in Kerrville. We have a lot of grandparents come down whose children and grandchildren are in the area, and they'll stay at our house instead of trying to crowd in. We know our neighbors on both sides, and your packet will have a letter from one of our neighbors in there speaking in favor of us. Our other neighbor offered to come to this meeting today, and her work hours didn't allow her to make it, but she was also in favor of our doing this. They've become like family to us. We enjoy the neighborhood. We enjoy supporting local. We love a lot of the, at least in our mind, probably not yours, but out of the way places that we've found that make Kerrville unique. We started operating this with a property management company that told us we did not need any permits or anything else, that they had done the research and we didn't need anything. So we found out a little while later that we needed to be paying the hotel taxes. So we started doing that. Steve and Drew have been really helpful coaching us through this whole process. And we are with a new management company now. In fact, one of the ladies is actually the person that we bought the home from. Now she's our property manager. And one of them has asked to speak, and I think that they will be very compelling about how professionally they manage properties and how each one is unique to its own area. Our neighborhood's not a party neighborhood. It's just a nice, quiet, relaxing oasis. It's just, I love it. And I could go on, but I won't.
So I understand the problems with Airbnbs. I've seen how they go really wrong. And I think that the challenge is to separate out good operators from bad operators, which is really what I think you guys are trying to do. With this property, when I talked to the realtor, we disclosed exactly what we're doing. When we closed on the house, we told Stephanie Cantu, formerly Nagy of Kerrville, what we plan to do. This is our vacation home. We're going to be down here once a quarter. We said in the meantime, the Airbnb idea, the short-term rentals, is going to be highly restricted. Here's why. I've invested over $20,000 in this property. Stephanie had a nice little AC unit. It was pretty old, made a lot of noise. I said, that's got to go. So that's $10,000 there. New plumbing, all types of things, because when I come here, I want a beautiful house for my family when we arrive. So what does that mean? We market to people that understand we have strict rules. 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. is quiet time. We make sure that, they're vetted, that they have multiple reviews. With our new property management company, they sign a rental agreement. Within that rental agreement, there's terms and conditions. If they violate them, the property management is $724. We have security cameras in the backyard and the front yard. We do not have security cameras in the house, would be inappropriate. So we monitor who's coming and who's going. Our neighbor, Marie Schwarzkopf, who lives right next door to us, who we met the very first day when we closed, told her what we're doing. Same with Karen and Marvin next door. We said, hey guys, we want to preserve this neighborhood. Here's my phone number. Anything out of the ordinary, you call me. We've been doing this since March 2021. We have not had any problems. Part of what we're trying to do is not only preserve the quality of the neighborhood, but now our neighbors use our gardener, our neighbors use our plumber. If you drive down Kerrville Lane and you look at every property on that street, you'll notice ours stands out as the best, well-kept, manicured property there. So when you think about bad Airbnb operators, because I've heard horror stories, that scares the daylights out of me. I don't want anybody in that neighborhood. We probably turn down 40% of the people if they're under 25. You know, your Taco Bell, you approved that to get renovated? Those contractors stayed at our house for 2 weeks. They get up at 6 in the morning, they work till 6 at night, they come home, they barbecue, and they go to bed. Those are the kinds of people, along with high-tech travel nurses, that we're focused on. We're not here to make money. This is not some scam. I want my property to be maintained. I want the neighborhood to be maintained. And at any time, any neighbor, you know, we have, again, we'll let our property manager talk about how they manage this, because we want to designate there's bad operators, good operators, and our job, we feel, is to preserve the quality of that neighborhood. So we'll let our property manager say a few words.
We'll have a public hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Any questions from the commissioners for the applicants? Anyone?
I do have one.
Sure.
You've been operating since 2021.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Have they been paying occupancy tax to the city? Or are they just under the radar?
No, we're paying property tax. We
Not
were
property,
alerted.
Occupancy.
Occupancy.
Yeah,
We
occupancy.
were alerted by,
Code enforcement.
yes.
Okay.
And they walked us through how to set up the account online. And so every month I take care of that. And now that we have a property management company who handles that, they will be taking over that part of it. But yes, we've been paying that.
Probably the one thing I would have done different, the property management company out of Fredericksburg that we originally signed up with. So somebody's talking about an HOA here. When we looked at the property, we said, we cannot operate what we want to do in an HOA, period. Where's the neighborhood we can do that? What are any restrictions on it? With our property manager, who's from this area, we said, look, I'm not going to close on this house if there's any kind of problems, because I don't want to be in front of a zoning committee, right? So I said, nope, you got to do it. Then we found out we have to pay the hospitality tax. So we signed up for that. And if we would have known that there was, you know, this kind of a thing, we would have done that immediately.
Right. We
It's
even, once we were alerted that we would have to apply for the conditional use permit, we asked our previous property manager if she had looked into this when we hired her. And she said she did her due diligence and that there was nothing in Kerrville, we didn't need anything, and just to go ahead and get started. So just like now, I mean,
That's why we don't have that property manager anymore. Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
okay.
All right. I do have a couple of people signed up, so we'll open up a public hearing at 4:38. First name I have Denise. Yes, okay.
Well, I'm their new property management company. I'm Cozy Vacation Rentals. We're based in Fredericksburg. They are one of only 2 properties we have over here in Kerrville. And we want to make sure that the groundwork that the Garrity's have laid for their guests and the type of guests that they want in their home is what we continue on. So that's the legacy we want to continue for them. They've already had kind of a rough start with another property management company, but they want it to be professionally managed. They don't want it just to be known as an Airbnb, which is not what we do. We do market on those sites, but we also have a very strict terms and conditions that our guests have to apply or sign and abide by. We are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And Stephanie, who used to own the home, lives here in Kerrville, and she is their property manager and can be reached at any point in time if we ever have any issues at the home, which I do not believe we're going to ever have. It is a quiet neighborhood. We market it as a quiet neighborhood. We will never market this property as a party house. Bring your frat boys, bring your bridal party. None of that is going to ever transpond at this property. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. So what we're wanting to do is make sure that we honor the neighborhood, honor the residents around it, and the property owners, so that we're managing and taking care of their property correctly. Again, that's if there's anything that ever comes up, we're able to be addressed, and somebody is on call all the time. We can be over there at a moment's notice. We don't want a party house any more than anybody else does. And we are based in Fredericksburg, and we know what a party house is. And it's not fun. It's not good. And what is happening in Fredericksburg, it's tough, and we have our own rules and regulations we're having to abide by there. We do have quiet hours. It is posted. We don't want that to transpond over here to Kerrville. We just don't.
Thank you.
Yeah. Stephanie, property manager, she's awesome.
And the other name I have, Castilia is the last name, I think.
Castillo.
Can I speak?
Yes. What's your first name? I haven't-
Yes. I'm very deaf, so I have to speak up loud so I can hear myself. This gerrymandering line, red line, got right on my toes, so I get the right to vote. And I want to vote no, and I want to tell you why. The man that plotted all these lots here was John Jobs. And we met because of a lost and found pet. And he came and collected his pet, and he told me, this was the fourth house built in 1980. He said, I am happy to see a family starting to move over here on 807 Laura Bell. I'm on Laura Bell. I saw all the houses, the remainder of the houses being built. I raised my family, except I kept one big boy. I had 4 boys. I went on to finish a degree that I pursued forever, criminal justice, and in research, poison, toxicology. These are family houses. Short term is going to be like fire ants. We didn't stop the fire ants in Comfort in 1974 because we knew nothing about it. Well, I did in College Station. Had we known, we would have stopped the fire ant back then. But it's a big boon to pest control. This is what's going to happen with the short terms. Short term, short term, short term, short term, short term. No family's going to be able to. My grandkids, your great grandkids, not going to be able to buy any of these houses because they're all going to be short term, $500, $800, $1,000 a night. And I've rented short term. 13 cars in front of the driveway, parking space problem, big old house. Everybody pays about $250 a night. 4 families pay $250, $280. And for 4 nights, $4,000. But you got golf courses, you got rivers, you have trails to go into, you have inner tubing. Here, we have just families. You want to go hiking in a short-term house on Lloyd Street? Family houses. Please. No, at Galleria, it's family. Thank you.
All right, that's the last person that's
May I
signed.
go? I have a football game to go to.
That was our last speaker that signed up for 811 Lloyd. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to? Yes. Sip.
Yes, I would like to have that management company's contact information on 811 Lloyd Street.
Yes, sir, I will certainly give it to you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, if that's the end, we will close public hearing at 4:44. Commissioners, any comments, questions? Well, I'll go through what I said before. This is an area that's somewhat off the beaten path for Kerrville attractions. And we a lot of times try to give preference to those that are close to attractions. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second? All in favor of approval, raise your right hand, please. Okay, and those denied? 3-2. Thank you.
4-2.
4-2, excuse me. Higher math is sometimes. All right, moving. Prescott Street.
Yes, the next one is the short-term rental lots 4, 5, and 6, excuse me, parts of lots 4, 5, and 6, Block 8, Hillcrest, and that is 1001 Prescott. And with that, I will turn it over to the applicant.
Excellent timing.
Hi, thank you. My name is Kelly Stuckelberg. I am the owner of 1001 Prescott. I purchased this property last spring. It was in a very dilapidated state. I spent approximately 9 months fixing the home and improving it, and moved into the home this summer. It is my primary residence, also my office, because I work remotely. I am applying for this permit as I would like to open my home when I travel. I travel probably 30% of the time for work, and I would like the opportunity for others to share in this home. My goal with remodeling this home, it's a 1940s bungalow, was really to restore it to a state that it could be enjoyed for the next 80 years, way beyond the chance that I'm here to enjoy it. And since it is my primary residence, you can imagine the care that I will give to who I would allow to rent the home. I also spent more on remodeling the home than I paid for it, so I have quite an extensive investment in the home itself. I have a couple other rental properties in other places, so I have experience in managing rental properties, and I would do the management of the home itself. That's my
So
request.
You do your own management?
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions for the applicant?
How would you manage when you're out of town?
I have, my niece lives half a block away from me, so she would be the one that would be on call during the time that I'm out of town. But I would manage all of the rentals and the flow and everything. But she would be the one on call during the time that I'm gone.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Drew, I might tax you. That is a familiar street. There are others in that area, are there not?
Yes. Yes, we have several in that area along Tivy. There's a couple on Prescott.
Yeah.
A couple on the next block over. So, like I said, we have had several of those over the last 3 years. There's actually one, I believe, that's grandfathered in that area on the map there, and we have not had any complaints thus far.
Okay, thank you for that. Well, we'll open a public hearing and see if anyone's interested in speaking on this. 4:48, public hearing's open. Anyone in the audience cares to speak on item 3D, which is? Huh? You have, oh, beg your pardon?
Signed up, Mary Kay Lamont.
Yes, I'm sorry, I missed you. My mistake.
Well, there haven't been any complaints until now. My name is Mary Lamont. I live at 969 Prescott Street. It's right across Oak. I've lived there for 19 years. I've been fixing up my house a little at a time. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I'm here to speak as a vote of opposition. I'm a voice for Hillcrest neighbors, and I strongly oppose this permit request. If you were to ask me on a scale of 1 to 10, what would I score this permit for a short-term rental? I'd say 15 because of my anxiety and my blood pressure. It's already out of hand, okay? Okay, keep in mind, back in 1926, when the intent of the Hillcrest development was created and Prescott Street was laid out, it was created to be an R1 affordable single-family housing for a growing town. However, with the invasion of these present-day investors, we families are getting little hotels instead of new neighbors. This maximizes the profits of audacious, wealthy, out-of-town profiteers. Nevertheless, there is little to no enforceable regulations such as noise or traffic. Background checks are not required. That's a serious risk for single women, children, and the elderly. We have many, many retired people that I'm speaking for. I've talked to the neighbors. Unanimously, they said to me, we're worried about noise more than traffic. Okay. But as you know, the city council passed restrictions for no more of these intrusive short-term rentals in R1 neighborhoods to preserve and protect our tranquility with one. If you had that map with the star on it, I already have one of these across the street from me. There hasn't been any problems. The owners have owned it for years. They're local. I've known them. I have had their phone number on my refrigerator for years, and we've always looked out for each other. But this is an entirely different situation. Okay, so what happened is that I feel like that I drew the short straw with this new ordinance. Another profiteer snuck in under the deadline and invested close to $500,000 in a fixer that I didn't know she lived there. I didn't know the owner was there, and I live across the street. Our cars would bump into each other if we backed out onto Oak Street at the same time. That would be a heck of a way to meet somebody. My bedroom window is 40 feet from her backyard and driveway. I'm an insomniac and I need my sleep. I don't need to be calling the police at all hours because of unsupervised tenants. I'm on my own until Kerrville police can get there. Even at 75 years old, I'm not going to be bullied or harassed by anyone. Let's talk taxes. My property taxes have gone up 28% in the last 3 years, and that's before this invasion of investors. We could be taxed out of our homes like in Austin and Fredericksburg.
Excuse me, you're about out of time. Can you wrap it up for us?
In conclusion, I don't know what else I can say to make my point, but frankly, we neighbors in Hillcrest are at your mercy. Please support the intent of our R1 neighborhoods and support retired teachers like me. In the words of the former Texas Governor Ann Richards, this dog don't hunt in Hillcrest.
Thank you. Bruce, do you have a comment?
Bruce Strachey, 615 Earl Garrett. I know many folks here don't know Kelly, but she's been here for a couple of years. I've known her that time. She's a very responsible person. If you knew the condition of this property when she bought it and the condition of it in this day, you would be very proud to see this along Prescott. And I understand the issues of gentrification very much. And it is a challenge, but the lady is right. She has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in purchasing and fixing this property up, which adds to our tax base, adds to our hotel tax. There is an area, this is an area like Guadalupe Street, like Arcadia, where there are a number of short-term rentals. And Kelly has, filed the application, hit all the requirements of the ordinance. The ordinance that she filed under is in effect. And this is a beautiful property. This is not going to be a party property. Her niece lives here locally as well, and we want these kinds of people in Kerrville.
Thank you, Bruce. Any comments?
Can I rebut that? Is that allowed?
You've had your time, I'm sorry. Well, I'm gonna venture out and make a comment here. Because this area has already so many short-term rentals in it, and that was one reason why the land use table was recently changed to restricting areas like this. It's, when you have a lot of short-term rentals in an area, you lose your neighborhood. And I'll give you an example. In my own neighborhood, we had a long-term rental house about half a block away. And a person from the, worked for the city, moved in, didn't know his name. A couple of days after he moved in, his dog was out moseying up and down the street. I called the city, explained the situation, didn't know his name, knew where he lived. 10 minutes later, the guy was there to take care of his dog. That's what neighbors do. They help out the people. And when you don't have a lot of short-term rentals running around, you lose your neighborhood. That's my opinion. I will be responsive to a motion if someone has on this property.
Motion to deny.
One motion to deny. Is there a second to deny? It dies for a lack of second. Is there any other motions?
Motion to approve.
We have one motion to approve.
I'll second.
And we have a second. All in favor of approval, raise your hands, please. And those opposed? Passes 4-2. All right, brings us to 1924 Leslie, I believe.
Yes, sir. This is Lot F, Block 5, Pueblo Hills, 1924 Leslie Drive. With that, I'll invite the owner up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Summer Tinsley. I do own 1924 Leslie Drive here in Kerrville, and we are applying for a short-term permit. A few things about this property. We did purchase it a year ago. We've done some improvements to it in that time, and we've had a renter in there for about a year. Our plans have changed, and we would really like to short-term rental this property. We feel like it's a good fit just because most of the area around us is zoned R3. We are right next to the Quality Inn and Suites, the Salt Group, Brookdale, and the Wyo Ranch, as well as Quinlan Crossing, and they are actually zoned R3. So we're really excited about this opportunity, and I would like to mention also in our subdivision 1950B, Lone Star Pest Control is a commercial business that resides there. We will be managing ourselves through Airbnb. We do have another short-term rental here in town that we manage. We've never had a complaint from a neighbor or from anyone. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicants, commissioners? Nope, seeing none. All right, I have one person who's interested in speaking. So we'll open a public hearing at 4:58. Norma?
When my husband and I bought our home at 1920 Leslie Drive 3 years ago, we were motivated by several things. First, of course, the house met our needs. But we were also strongly influenced by the fact that there is an open area, a wooded area along Quinlan Creek across the street. There is a lot of wildlife there. Some of it has become quite tame. Most of us who live in that area enjoy that wildlife. But also, we were motivated by the fact that the homeowners association limits this property to one family residence. This has caused a feeling of community there. Even though we have some long-term renters on our street, we're all acquainted. We go out for a walk, we meet our neighbors, we stop and visit with them. It's a very diverse neighborhood. My husband and I are in our 90s. We have young people living on one side of us, a young lady living on the other side who is leaving, this is the property in question, who is leaving to be with her husband who is stationed in Florida. But these people have been wonderful neighbors. And I have the feeling that when we bring in short-term renters, people that are going to be there for a month, 2 months, that we're going to lose this feeling of community. Not long ago, I had a problem and had to take an ambulance to the hospital. I can't tell you what it meant that the neighbors came running to see if I was all right and what was going to happen. I really don't want to lose this. I also want to point out that this neighborhood has been zoned residential. Our deed shows that it is residential property. I don't know what all else I can tell you, but it seems to me we belong to a homeowners association and we respect the rules and their definitions of the property. And when we decided to retire in Kerrville, we felt that the people here, the city government, were concerned about its people. We felt that they would honor the commitments on our deeds and on our homeowners. And I don't want to regret our decision to retire here. And I don't want to lose the sense of community, the sense of security that we have because our neighbors are long-term neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to make a statement to kind of correct, I think, something I heard you say. This is short-term rental. This is 30 days or less. You made a comment about a month or two. That's not this piece of property.
That's even worse.
Okay. Anybody else in the audience wish to make a comment? Yes.
Hello, my name is Brittany, and I am actually also the next case up. I own 1916 Leslie Drive, which we are also applying for a short-term rental. So we are just next door to these wonderful people. And again, I just want to kind of touch on the things that Summer had touched on, our proximity to the commercial zoning, and we have maps here. I mean, some of these units are closer to the hotel than they even are to our unit. So that being a big factor, as well as the units that back up to us, Quinlan Crossing, again, they are zoned R3. They do not even require a permit. Our proximity to the golf course is very appealing. So other Airbnbs in the area, we get a lot of feedback from people that are here to play golf. Our townhomes, they overlook a beautiful landscape, and it's wonderful to go out and sit and have coffee. And that's what these people that are coming to these Airbnbs are looking for. They're looking for relaxation. They're not looking to party and have and cause a ruckus. Also, we have been very fortunate and blessed to have wonderful long-term rentals in our unit, renters in our unit. But unfortunately, we can't guarantee that even with long-term renters. You can get a long-term renter in there who is now has legal rights to that rental for a year. And what if you don't like them? So with short-term rentals, we have the ability to, one, if they're not abiding by the rules, they go, they're out, and they'll never be back again. So I do understand her point for that, but also it doesn't seem valid in that sense that there always is that possibility. And again, just the proximity to commercial as well as the amenities that people are looking for when they come to Kerrville. So I'll also include, that will be my speech for the next property as well. So if you want to move to that next category, you can with me. So also I'd like to note, out of the 11 units, 60% of them are rentals. So thank you.
All right, is there anyone else that wishes to speak on 1924 Leslie?
May I speak, please?
Sure.
I'll go around the world to get that. Yes, I'm Annette Ebbett. We moved here in May the 9th of 21. We moved specifically to be near my son. My husband's sick. And we moved to that area because looked like it was mainly retired people. It was a quiet area. And I have so enjoyed there. Since we've moved, my husband is now in long-term care. And I had heart problem, and I could go right next door and get my neighbor to get me an ambulance. This is an area that I know that everybody looks after everybody. And it's a quiet area. The streets roll up at 9:30. And there's just so many reasons to keep this as a quiet area for retired people, because retired people are coming to Kerrville. That's part of the growth here. And the homeowners association, I think, is the governing power that the quietness, the regulations, and they are followed as far as I can see. I just hate to see any short-term come to this area and be developed. Thank you.
Any other comments? Yes, go right ahead, Bruce.
Bruce Strachey, 615 Earl Garrett. I actually really have a couple of questions. Drew, I was looking at the zoning map and I noticed that the community property is all zoned R3, but the individual units are R2. And I just wondered if you might comment on that. It's an interesting thing that I hadn't noticed. And my second question.
Go ahead.
I've forgotten. You address my zoning question first?
Sure can.
Thank you.
I believe that's just from the rezoning when we went through the new zoning code in 2019. These parcels, since they are individually owned, came up as R2, which is what allows for townhomes. R3 does not allow townhomes. However, that property was previously zoned R3, if I'm not mistaken, under the old zoning. Yeah, it was all zoned R3 under the old zoning, but the new version of R3 does not allow townhomes. So the committee that was reviewing the zoning with the consultant moved them down to R2 so that they would not be non-conforming.
So Quinlan is R3 because it's condominium.
Correct.
Okay, and oh, doggone it, it just ran away again. Hold on, give me just a second. I apologize. My clock, I'm still on my clock. I just want to remind everybody that homeowners associations are a civil matter and not a matter for the city or the zoning committee, but that doesn't mean that folks don't have rights under their HOA. And so, but that has no bearing here in this hearing. But the HOA does apply and that's a civil matter that people can address.
Thank you, Bruce. That's very, very good statement, very good information you passed on. All the people concerned about HOA comments, you'll need to speak to your HOA, not the city. Yes, you have your hand up back there, you have a comment?
Yes, sir. I didn't intend on doing this, but. I'm Patricia Anderson. I live at 1936 Leslie Drive, and the two residents that are scheduled or marked off for short-term rentals, I live within 200 yards of each of them. There is a lot of traffic. There is one road, Leslie Drive, from Leslie Drive to Cindy Baker, and there is I'm a little nervous. It is traveled a lot. There is a lot of noise, a lot of traffic on it. The parking available at the condos is very limited. Okay, there is a road that goes in front of the condo where the deer and you see the creek and the landscape. It is very pretty and very quiet. This area has many elderly people, single women, and occasionally, I know there are rentals and they have kids, and that's okay, but there's a lot of people that depend on each other, and the security risk of having unknown people come in around, like she mentioned a while ago. I vote no. I sent a letter. I voted twice because I got two letters. No to each of the requests. I think it would be harmful for the people that live there. Our property values would go down probably, and the safety of it all. And I want to ask, when there is a problem with one of these short-term residents, do we call the manager or we call the police department?
It's your choice.
We call the police department because they will more likely show up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman, I'll address that.
Okay.
Citizens could call the police department, could call code enforcement during business hours, or obviously if the neighbors have provided the property management.
Right.
So they can avail themselves to any of those.
Sorry, am I able to ask one more question here?
Go ahead, it's a quick one.
Okay, would they operate under the codes and regulations of, HOA? And,
That's a question you pose to your HOA, not us.
okay, so, all right. Then we would have the right to, approve their advertising any way they advertised the HOA.
The HOA controls all that. We don't have anything to do with it.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to close the public hearing.
I think you got.
I'm sorry? Okay, I'm closing public hearing, 5:13. Commissioners, any comments, questions?
I do for Summer.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry if you said it and I forgot already.
Okay.
I'm having a Bruce moment up here. Who's your property manager?
We are.
Okay.
We use Airbnb and we manage ourselves.
Okay.
Just Airbnb schedules for us, and we can check, the people's reviews that ask to rent our unit. So we do everything through Airbnb, but we personally manage it.
And I know y'all are local, so thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes,
Anything
I
else?
would like to have I would like to have that contact information of your management company of 1924 and 1916.
It's us. Yeah, we'll give, yes.
Thank you.
All right, commissioners? Does anyone want to care to make a motion on 1924 Leslie?
I'll move to approve.
A motion to approve, do I have a second? Second? All in favor of approval? Okay. Denial? 4-2. Thank you.
Yep.
She needs to.
And next we have 1916. We'll have to process that separately. You got it, Mike? This is Lot H, Block 5, Pueblo Hills. Let me change.
That was me again, but I feel like I just said everything.
Just for the record, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay.
Just make sure.
Yes, I am Brittany again. I am the owner of 1916 Leslie Drive, me and my husband. Also, I forgot to note that we actually live on Laura Bell, which is just down the road. So we are very close by and we'll be happy to monitor our own short-term rental. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners, for the applicant?
I have the same objection to it.
Well, it's not to the public yet, ma'am.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's all right. All right, we'll open a public hearing on 1916 Leslie, 516, and I have one speaker form, Roger Palmer.
Yes, I am Roger Palmer, 1950 Leslie Drive, Apartment F, in the Kerrville Pueblo Hills Townhome Association. And I am opposed, and several people here in the audience are opposed. And I'll have a question to Drew. What is the city ordinance concerning parking for 1916 and 1924 Leslie Drive?
They're required one parking space per bedroom plus an additional parking space. So that includes the garage and the driveway parking.
Right, so there's 4
Yeah, that's
places
what,
that have to be available.
that's what's stated in our HOA, 2 in the garage, 2 outside.
Yep.
But like a comment was made earlier, the road in front of the house, between the house and the creek is very narrow. And there is also an irrigation system there in the grass. We don't want people driving on the grass to damage the irrigation system. So a lot of, and our HOA states this is a residential area. And there's also in our HOA about noise affecting other neighbors, because there's a common wall.
Sure.
There's a common wall in our townhomes, and we don't want a lot of noise. And we're a lot of older people living in there, 65 plus. And I like your comments, sir. If you get a lot of short-term rentals, you lose the neighborhood. We do not want to lose our neighborhood. It's very safe currently. And
Well, I'm sorry, it's on the back of the HOA to control your HOA rules, not the city.
well, okay, that sounds like good news to me. So anyway, we are opposed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. But I would like to have y'all's contact information.
Sure, step forward. Did I open a public hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Another Bruce moment.
Excuse me for a moment.
Sure.
I'm Norma's other half. We're sandwiched they got us on both sides. 1916, the last few months, has been used as a dog kennel. People show up 2-3 times a day, take the dogs out, bring them back. Nobody's been living overnight that I have seen. And I stay up kind of late at night. And I'll get a grip here in a minute. And I just feel like we're being squeezed out. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I just want to speak on behalf of that.
Any other,
Sir, I sincerely apologize that you feel that way. That is not our intention at all. There is a long-term renter in there. He owns a business. He does have 2 dogs, and his parents live very close by. Also, his brother and his sister live close by, so I've actually let his dogs out for him. There is a long-term renter in there. He does live there full-time. He owns a local gym in town, so just a note on that, there is not a dog kennel next door, so thank you.
all right, thank you for clarifying that. Anyone else? All right, we're closing the public hearing at 5:20. And commissioners, you have any questions or? Oh, one more? Oh, slip in.
I just kind of like to piggyback on what everyone who's.
Excuse me, let me open the public hearing just to be legit here. 5:21, go ahead.
I want to piggyback on everyone's concerns here that this is a neighborhood.
Can we get your name and address for the record?
Sure. Right now, Joe Hedrick.
Okay.
I'm at 1901 Leslie Drive, and I own a townhome, Unit H.
All right, thank you.
This is a neighborhood, and as has been stated previously, it's very picturesque. There's a lot of wildlife, and the wildlife is very used to us, tame with us, eat out of my hand, not kidding. The Leslie Drive, there are 2 cul-de-sacs off Leslie Drive. That's all the traffic that goes down there. It's all local. Short-term rentals, it's gonna be bad. The residents who live there are familiar with the area, know about the deer, watch out for the deer, especially this time of year. Everybody drives appropriately. If we've got people coming in and out of there who aren't part of the community, who aren't familiar with the community and the surroundings, it could be dangerous, just to put it bluntly. That concerns us. So I just felt like you guys needed to be aware of that, and thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. All right. Close the public hearing at 5:22. Any comments? Any motions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor of motion to approve, raise your right hand, please. Those opposed? Been down this road before, I think. Thank you. 4-2. Consistency, isn't it? All right, Drew, we're back to you with 2511 Bandera Highway.
Yes, this is an ordinance to annex into the city's Kerrville incorporated limits with the zoning classification of mixed use on 4.45 acres of land out of the David Shashard Survey, number 67, abstract number 299, more commonly known as 2511 Bandera Highway. And with that, Martin, can you pull up that other PowerPoint, please?
Excellent. Thank you. My name is James McKnight, 112 East Pecan. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. That is the buyer in this case, not the owner. And I have a brief presentation for you about my request for annexation of this 4-acre property and the zoning for mixed use. This is the property along Bandera Highway. Like Drew says, 4.45 acres. It's adjacent to the Kerrville Shriner Park to the north, the headquarters to the north, and Caddy Corner across the street as well. And it has direct access to the highway, direct access to the river behind it, as you can see. This is a zoning map, a larger zoning map that you can see the public institution that's north of us and how we're right on the edge of the city. Our request is for that mixed-use zoning. That's to allow for future commercial and residential development that will engage the existing uses. It can also be a catalyst for appropriate growth in the future. And as I've already shown, it's adjacent to that public institutional zoning. As part of, when you're looking at annexation, is planning, future planning, and obviously the 2050 plan for Kerrville is a really important one to be looking at. It's not just about housing, as I've been here before talking about this before, but a big part of the 2050 plan talked about these strategic catalyst areas, and this property is actually in strategic catalyst area number 10. The purpose for those areas, I quoted from the plan, is developments clustered in key zones of opportunity around major corridors, intersections, natural assets, or major improvements. Uses would include a range of housing options and a mix of community and regional level nodes. And as it says in the report for this property, professional services and place types are appropriate around or near the highway. So that's specific to catalyst area number 10. So if you look at some of that language, and then you look at the zoning itself that we're requesting, the mixed-use zoning, you can see the consistency that we're asking for. So MU zoning, it allows for residential and non-residential uses to be combined. That's either in a single building or at a range of several buildings. But it's built in a cohesively designed, walkable environment, which is very similar to the kind of pedestrian-oriented design that it's searched for in that future plan. And actually, one thing I failed to point out, on the plan itself, it's labeled as investment or reinvestment, future investment or reinvestment right now on our property. That's what that cross-hatching is for. So again, going back to some of the details of what MU zoning is supposed to accomplish, it offers a flexible zoning standards in exchange for high-quality design and pedestrian-oriented amenities. The goal is to create active, attractive, sustainable live, work, shop, play districts. So this is and I put the larger zoning map up here. I tried to zoom out a little more so you could see that this isn't really on the edge of the city. It's actually kind of in the middle. There's some zoning beyond us as you go further south down Bandera Highway. So I tend to look at this, especially because it's this catalyst area. It's more of an infill than really it's at the edge of the city. And I feel, as the city did in their future planning, it is a growth area and that the mixed-use zoning is appropriate for that land. This is some of the images that our architect is going to be using, taken from some mixed-use projects around just trying to get that pedestrian-oriented feel. We don't have our full design yet because we have to do some of this preliminary planning first, and the first is the annexation and the zoning. And this is a concept plan that I submitted, but it's important to remember this is just concept at this time. But some of the things I wanted to show were just that there's some floodplain on the property in the northwest and the southwest, and that we are interested in attaching some kind of transit down to the Guadalupe River, just so that there you could have that engagement that both the 2050 plan calls for and that mixed-use zoning calls for. But right now, that really is just to show a building on the site, what that could look like, but that is not designed yet, just preliminary. And drainage, traffic, development regulations, all of those studies will be conducted and of course adhered to at the time of building permit. But if it's appropriate, I'd like to reserve any rebuttal time and answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant, Commissioner?
Martin, if you can switch back to the other PowerPoint real quick.
Sure.
I'll go through my staff report before the public hearing, if that's all right with the commission. Did send 9 letters out on the 19th and of course advertised in the Daily Times. As you saw from James's zoning map, this is adjacent to Kerrville Shriner Park, zoned public and institutional. Oh, excuse me. To the south is outside the city limits except the highway. And further to the south, you have Comanche Trace zoning it that he showed on his map. This is within the Strategic Catalyst Area 10 and that reinvestment zone. And this one does talk about rural living, estate living, professional services, agriculture, and outdoor tourism. This being on the riverside, they were targeting mixed use to pick up some level of tourism on the property. The request is consistent with the comprehensive plan, the future land use plan, and the adjacent property. Future impacts on traffic and parking in the thoroughfare, of course, will be with the final design of the project. They will have to work through TxDOT for their curb cut access and any traffic impact analysis as required by TxDOT. Again, they are on Bandera Highway, so overall, long-term, there should be no impact on traffic, as that is a primary arterial. And with that, I'd be pleased to answer any questions before or after the public hearing.
Any questions for Drew, commissioners? No?
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I have one speaker, so we'll open up a public hearing at 5:30. T. Beck Gibson?
Yes, Beck Gibson, 116 St. Andrews Loop. I represent Diana and Alan Stern. They live in the house just south of that. I'm basically here to watch this presentation, and best I can tell, they have no objection.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience care to make a comment? Seeing none, we will close public hearing 5:31. Commissioners, got any questions, comments on this annexation? Would entertain a motion then.
So moved.
I hate everyone over here. No?
I'll second yours if you want to.
All right, we got a first and a second, however you cut it. All right.
I think you were first.
All in favor, raise your right hand, please. Unanimous. Thank you.
Sorry, who was the?
I motioned and.
Jeff motion.
Yes, sir.
Cliff second. Thank you.
We were gonna fight over it later.
Sounds
He's
good.
trying to sneak in there now, so.
All right, that gets us to Memorial Highway.
Yes, another conditional use permit. This is for an independent living facility for seniors, which is a conditional use in the C2 zoning district at 2916 Memorial Boulevard. And with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Good afternoon. Long afternoon. My name is Rick Perry. I my residence is 405 Spring Mill Drive in River Hill subdivision. The subject property is where my office is located for Caring Senior Service, which is 2916 Memorial Boulevard. What I'm applying for is a little misleading in that there's really not a definition for what I'm proposing. It's there's property behind my office, and what I'm proposing to do is put in what is called granny pods or granny flats, which are small tiny houses, will be for seniors, and I propose to put 7 of those in behind my office. And I've had Caring Senior Service, which is a personal assistance service that provides caregivers in the home for the elderly for 18 years. I also have a personal care home. And I just thought this was a great way to provide another option for seniors in this area. It will be these tiny houses will be no more than 400 square feet. They will be site-built and independent of each other. We'll have restrictions there where you'll have parking for 1 vehicle, no more. It's just an affordable way for someone who has lost a spouse or doesn't want to maintain a house anymore to come and live in a small little community. I will also provide some amenity services through Caring Senior Service for these residents if they choose to use that in ways of, reminding for medications or being available to them for service if they need something or consulting with any of their medical needs. Caring Senior Service is not a, quote, medical service. It's a non-medical service. But we have great relationship with Peterson and work with home health and hospice both, so that would allow us to consult with residents there if they need any additional help physically.
I have one question for you. A lot of times, excuse me, get it in a minute. A lot of times, independent living means you can eat there or there is a common cafeteria. You're not planning such, right?
No, sir.
Okay. So you have a non-related business in front. That's
Correct.
okay. All right.
Yes, these residents will be on their own to provide their own food and all their necessities.
Services, making
Yes.
beds, etc.
Yes.
Good. Gotcha. Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Martin, can you switch back to the PowerPoint real quick? Thank you. As Mr. Perry said, there is some land behind the office. I know you have your backup, but here's the site plan showing a general layout of those small cottages or granny flats. There would be individual structures with kitchens, efficiency or one-bedroom type small homes, more or less small multifamily, but limited to senior living as defined in the zoning code.
And this is a concept plan. They may be arranged differently depending on what the fire marshal requires
Right.
and so forth.
You planning hard services such that garbage collection will be, how will that be handled?
I would assume that we would provide a large,
Being that they,
bin outside or
Gotcha.
by the office property so that a garbage truck could come in and take care of that.
yeah, a one-time pickup there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I think fire lane will probably take care of that before the garbage company has a problem. Being able to withstand the fire truck for a fire lane to get
Yeah.
full access back there.
Okay,
Would these be individually owned, or would you be leasing these?
These will be long-term rentals, though I'll be leasing these, yes.
any other questions, commissioners?
Rick, just one, are they gonna be permanently affixed? Or are they gonna be like the tiny houses where you slide them out?
No, they won't. They'll be on piers or, I have Stevie Jones here with me from, Tim Jones Building, and Mike could address that.
That would be, primarily that'd be on a slab foundation for that. And it'd be stick built as well.
Thank you.
And zoning wouldn't allow any RVs based on the C2 zoning district.
All right, any other questions? Are we ready for a motion?
I'll go through the rest of.
Excuse me, another Bruce moment.
You're popular, Bruce.
5:38, we'll open the public hearing on the property at 2916 Memorial. Thank you. Seeing no, oh, yes, step forward, please.
Nikki Keynes, I'm here in Kerrville. This area, is it going to be age restricted, like 65 and older, or, you know, I know you're going to be leasing to them, but do they have to meet, what kind of criteria would they have to meet, maybe?
We haven't come up with the
Okay.
restrictions as such for the area, but yes, the intent is to be probably 60, 65 or older.
Okay, and it would be a single adult per unit?
A couple could live there, but no more than that.
Okay, all right. That's
Thank you. Anybody else? close public hearing at 5:39.
And I do have two recommendations and one clarification in your backup. It says accessory dwelling unit. It's really meant for not intended for an accessory dwelling unit because it's the several units.
Right.
But for the independent living, tied to the concept plan, as Mr. Perry mentioned, there may be some minor modifications. Doesn't anticipate adding any units, but just working through other building and fire codes. And that the minimum parking shall be consistent with that of multifamily, based on bedroom count and number of parking spaces for both the units and guest parking, essentially.
So how many spaces would that be, Drew?
So for an efficiency, it would be, I think off the top of my head, it's one space for a one bedroom, be 1.5 parking spaces per unit. So there may be some additional, instead of just one per unit, there may be some additional parking. And we could certainly look at the office up front may have some of that parking already allocated.
So probably 10 or 11 if
Right.
we're looking at 7
Roughly.
units, okay.
All right. Commissioners, any other comments, questions?
Is there a definition in the code for seniors?
There is not. I was just checking for that. This is a listed land use for independent, again, independent living for seniors and a conditional use in C2. But we do not have a specific definition for that. So you would just kind of default to dictionary definitions on those.
Okay.
Not a senior in high school.
All right. Would entertain a motion.
Move to approve?
One move to approve, second?
Yes, sir.
All in favor of approve, right hands? Looks unanimous, thank you. All right, we're down to the wire on the last one.
It's an ordinance to change the zoning from planned development district to C2 light commercial on 0.63 acres of land out of the John Young Survey number 118, abstract 375. This is more commonly known as 226 and 228 West Main. And with that, I will turn it over to the applicant.
What I finally showed up for tonight. Bruce Strachey, 615 Earl Garrett, and I remember this one very well.
All right.
This is an old used vehicle sales lot, and it has been for, David helped me, 20, 25 years.
Oh, 20 years on it.
So, and when the PDD was done, I believe it was in 2002, but in the early 2000s, the single only use for this property is used vehicle sales. I can't have a tea shop. I can't sell flowers. I can't have a tuxedo shop or a QSR or anything. All I can do is used vehicle sales. And one of the things that I've learned over the years is that the city of Kerrville gets no sales taxes from vehicle sales. Shocking. So it offers property taxes, but that's it to the city. We've had the property on the market for some time. We've had a lot of inquiries for other uses. We've also had, we rented it to Stobel for a while. We've had other car folks who interested in it. We just want to make it be a useful property for the city of Kerrville. We talked with Drew and Steve at some length about what would be the appropriate zoning for the area. And I don't think I'm putting any words in anybody's mouth, and they'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we all came together at C2 is what made the most sense for this site. So that's why we're here tonight. I'm glad to ask any other questions. And by the way, it's the same owner that's had that property for all 20 years.
Ooh. Okay, sounds good. Any questions for the applicant?
Go through, as Bruce said, we did talk through and kind of see what would be a good fit, looking at the land use plan. This area is designated as community commercial. Then we kind of talk through what does that look like when we get down to that next granular level of zoning districts. And you do have a number of zoning districts within that community commercial, from C3, other planned development, C2, and actually some RT further up West Main. All collectively within that community commercial. The goal of the community commercial is to be community serving, so we're not talking a big regional area, regional complex. So again, fits that Junction Highway corridor, where West Main, West Water obviously spur off of that just a little bit. To the north of the property is R1A. Obviously, they've been there against a commercial business for 20-plus years. To the northwest is C1. To the southeast is AutoZone, another PD. And then, of course, across West Main is C2, and then immediately Junction Highway. So staff recommends the request as presented. Be pleased to answer any questions before or after the public hearing.
Any comments, questions? Pretty straightforward fellow. Do I hear a motion?
Public hearing.
My last Bruce moment of the day. 5:45, anybody interested in speaking
Other than Bruce.
other than Bruce? Nope. We'll close the public hearing, 5:45. Now, I'm interested in hearing a motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor? Raise right hands. Looks unanimous. Thank you very much. December 1, huh?
December 1, next meeting. That's it. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Drew.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kim, for doing footwork to the outside office.